One frosty winter afternoon, 8-year-old Leo was building a snow fort in his backyard when he found something strange buried in the snow. A shimmering round stone. It glowed softly in his hand, and before he could even say cool, the world around him spun like a snowy whirlwind. When the spinning stopped, Leo gasped. He wasn't in his backyard anymore. He was standing in the middle of an endless icy tundra, surrounded by towering woolly mammoths and fluffy, curious saber-tooth tigers. "Where am I?" Leo whispered, his breath forming little clouds in the freezing air. Leo didn't have much time to think because a giant sloth lumbered up to him. "What's that shiny thing in your hand?" the sloth asked, its voice slow and deep. I don't know," Leo stammered. But then an idea popped into his head. "Hey, want to help me make something fun? Have you ever made a snowman?" The sloth scratched its furry head. "What's a snowman?" it asked. Leo grinned and said, "I'll show you." He scooped up a ball of snow and began rolling it on the ground, making it bigger and bigger. The sloth watched, then joined in, using its giant paws to help roll a huge snowball. Illustration: Leo and a giant ground sloth rolling an enormous snowball together on the icy tundra, with other prehistoric animals curiously watching in the background. Soon the woolly mammoths wanted to help too. With their long trunks, they lifted the massive snowballs and stacked them on top of each other. The saber-tooth tigers found sticks for arms, while a pack of playful Ice Age wolves brought round stones for the snowman's eyes. "This is amazing," Leo laughed as his new friends worked together. When the snowman was finished, it was the biggest one Leo had ever seen, tall as a mammoth with a friendly smile made of icicles. "This," Leo declared, "is the first ever snowman." The animals cheered, their happy noises echoing across the icy landscape. Part 2: A Snowy Celebration. Leo and his prehistoric friends stood back to admire their enormous snowman. "This is the best snowman ever," Leo exclaimed. The mammoths trumpeted happily and the saber-toothed tigers purred in agreement. But then the wolves tilted their heads. "Something's missing," one said. "What do you mean?" Leo asked. "Every snowman needs a hat," another wolf howled. The sloth nodded slowly. Yes, a hat would be nice. But where do we get one?" The animals scattered to search. The saber-toothed tigers padded through the snow, sniffing for something perfect. One of the mammoths used its trunk to pull up a big patch of moss, but it was too floppy. The sloth found a giant leaf, but it blew away in the cold wind. Just as they started to give up, Leo spotted something. "Look!" he cried, pointing to a tall tree. Stuck at the very top was an enormous frozen pine cone as big as a boulder. "That would make a great hat," he said excitedly. With teamwork, the group got to work. The mammoths stretched their trunks high to shake the tree, while the sloth gave a gentle nudge. The wolves wagged their tails in excitement, yipping as the pine cone wobbled loose. Finally, with a loud crack, it tumbled to the ground. "Got it!" Leo cheered. Together they hoisted the pine cone to the top of the snowman. Now the snowman looked truly complete, standing tall with its grand pine cone hat. "Perfect," Leo said, and the animals cheered even louder, their voices echoing across the tundra. This second part emphasizes problem-solving, creativity, and teamwork, as well as the joy of achieving something together. Yes, Part 3: The Magic of the First Snowman. As the group celebrated, the glowing stone in Leo's pocket began to hum softly. "What's happening?" he wondered, taking it out to look at it. The snowman sparkled under the pale winter sun, and the glowing stone seemed to brighten. "It's like the snowman is alive!" one of the saber-toothed tigers said with wide eyes. Suddenly, the snowman's icicle mouth began to move. "Thank you, Leo and friends," it rumbled in a deep, warm voice. "You've made me the happiest snowman in history." Illustration: the giant snowman glowing faintly under the winter sun, with its icicle mouth forming a smile as the animals and Leo look up in amazement. Leo couldn't believe his ears. "You can talk?" he asked, stepping closer. "Only because you all worked together to create me," the snowman replied. "Your kindness and teamwork brought me to life." The animals wagged their tails, trumpeted, and purred with pride. "This is amazing," Leo said. "But I can't stay here forever. I need to go home." The snowman nodded. "I will help you, Leo. The glowing stone in your hand brought you here, and it can take you back. Just close your eyes and think of home." Illustration: Leo holding the glowing stone in his hand while standing beside the snowman, surrounded by his prehistoric animal friends in a snowy landscape. Leo hugged each of his new friends. "Thank you for the best adventure ever," he said. The sloth gave him a slow wave, the wolves howled goodbye, and the mammoths trumpeted one last time. Finally, Leo stood in front of the snowman and closed his eyes. The glowing stone hummed louder, and suddenly the snowy tundra melted away. When Leo opened his eyes, he was back in his backyard, the glowing stone now just an ordinary rock. But in the snow beside him, he noticed something: tiny paw prints and a little icicle, as if to remind him that the magic had been real. Illustration: Leo back in his snowy backyard, holding the now ordinary stone and gazing at tiny paw prints leading away into the snow, with the sun setting in the background. "No file chosen,"